All right, so this is question 6. So basically, for task groups, this is common in things like task forces, things like committees, planning groups, and the focus is basically to apply group dynamics into a working goal. So where you would see this is like in community centers where they might have a goal, they come together, talk about things and work things out to get and achieve that goal. And you'll see that in business as well as education. And an example of this in TR would be maybe clients planning to go out, so having like an outing or event together, and in turn, this actually builds their group dynamic skills of things like coordination and decision making as well. And then for psychoeducational groups, the focus is to build on certain skills like cognition, affective and behavioral skills as well. And this is via some sort of structured education. So the goal of this is to be aware of issues and then use coping skills to train. So being aware of that, you would see this in a substance abuse prevention, where a lot of time they're discussing and using coping skills to get over or deal with their problems. And then an example of this in TR would be like a leisure education group where you're discussing about your issues and trying to get over them using leisure, which is the coping skill. And then lastly is counseling groups where the focus is on interpersonal discussion, dealing with problems, so problem solving, and then also talking using their thoughts, behaviors, feelings, using all that to kind of help them support their situation. And this is usually for people who are trying to transition into a better life, maybe people who are at risk, and then it could even be helpful in relationship enhancements. And then the goal of this is to basically have a positive attitude towards life and deal with what you're dealing with, and interpersonal skills, being able to teach that and to use that, and then also just to transfer that to daily life, being able to just support yourself and being able to live a normal life. And lastly, an example would be leisure counseling, as we've discussed and have been in class doing this before. Identifying and developing meaningful activities, exactly what uh, counseling groups do, is just discussing and going over things and trying to make things better. All right, so this is question 10. So the first thing that I found was a sense of humor. This connected with me because a lot of times my natural approach is humor in a lot of interactions that I have. And I find that it definitely lifts people's moods. So clients specifically can lift their moods. And I can also create a happy environment because I know a lot of times it's just a lot of negativity and sadness and what they're feeling. So I feel like a happy environment's important. And it also just reduces power differentials. I find that people can see others as authoritative and rather kind of see kind of a balance and more of a friend than someone who is controlling or you know and I just want it to feel real. That's most important. And it is also important to have balance, in that they respect you and they trust you, but also to be serious in certain situations that you need to be serious, which is a lot of times, but it can also be balanced with humor as well. Another thing, skill is like goodwill, genuineness, and caring that I found in the textbook. Um, this is something that I value, and that clients get what they need, and I care for them, and that we approach all with care and understanding, and even people who are kind of hesitant, just supporting them as well because they deserve it. Everyone deserves the care that they need. Um, yeah, just respecting everyone, being genuine, not being fake to people, and just be real. Some days are going to be difficult, but you just got to respect them and care for them. Last thing is commitment to self care. This is a big thing that in our job can be very overwhelming at times. So a lot of clients will have demands and need you to do things that maybe you don't really want to do and can be very stressful. And it's just being able to handle that. And this is kind of a way to prevent an overwhelm in mental and physical health, which can be um, very sudden. And I feel like it's important to support that. And ways that I kind of practice and support that is taking breaks when I need it. Just be able to kind of reflect and to think and to not have so much chaos going on. And then when I'm not working, is to use that time efficiently and to go out with friends, family, and enjoy it. Enjoy everything that you do. And lastly, is breathing techniques, being able to kind of in the moment support yourself when you're dealing with stress. And I find that really helps me. Right. So this is question 9. Basically, what self awareness is the core piece is what makes you you. So understanding who you are so that you can understand others. Um, it is important to know things like your goals in life and your things like your culture, understanding who you are, where you come from, things like your limitations. What are you not able to do? Maybe what are things that you're not able to do, but can try to push yourself to do. What are your values? What are things that you care about? What are things that you know you deem important in a person or in life or in a job, whatever it is. And these things will help to navigate life. And that's what being self aware is, understanding those things. Um, and the first thing is understanding yourself before understanding others. That's a key thing that I try to keep to myself is you need to know yourself before you need to know others because if you don't know yourself, then you don't know what you want in others or what you desire in others. Um, and for a situation like for group leaders, for example, facilitating awareness in a group is important because if children, for example, or whoever the population is aware of themselves, then this will help to adjust maybe their interactions in groups or in a certain situation, understanding maybe how they're treating someone or how they're um, involving themselves. And the purpose of this is to make sure that they have clarity, that they can understand, okay, maybe I'm not doing something right. Maybe I'm not treating this person how they should be treated. Um, and kind of educating them in this case, I guess, would make them more motivated, encouraged to understand those things. And a personal example that I would give is from when I teach summer camps in the summer. Um, I try to treat kids equally, and I try to be aware that um, each kid will be treated equally, and this will help to promote collaboration over singling people out. And that's for me. But I also try to teach the children that as well, and that's important that you collaborate and not push others away. Be self-aware that you are doing this for the good, right? All right, so this is question number 2. So the first one I picked was considering the group as a means to an end. So I picked this because I thought it's kind of a subconscious push, knowing that this is the means to an end, that you will be more consistent and I guess fully participating. And it also can help with motivation. There's links to personal benefits slash goals. Also, it's kind of a way to think of if I finish this, this will allow free time to do what I want, which is the goal they have, basically. And also that the time invested will equal the closer you get to the goal, right? So the more time you put into it, the closer you are to that goal. The next one I picked was personal slash direct statements to others. Um, Having these statements and directing them towards others will help to force involvement, right? Having this thought process of like, okay, I need to say something, I need to question people, whatever you're doing. This forces you to be involved and build connections because you're talking to them, right? And the benefits of this is obviously social learning, right? You're learning how to socialize as well as emotional learning because you're connecting to people. And then also sharing creates emotional regulation, right? Being able to regulate your emotions. And this will help also in the group itself improve group flow, right? If someone's speaking a lot and another person's speaking a lot, it kind of can help to bounce back and forth. Another thing is just general positive morale, right? If we're all talking to each other, then we're all going to be happy. We're all going to be positive because we're engaging in conversation. And then the last thing is that I picked was establishing trust. This is very important because it enables us to open up and to share things. And having that trust will also be that stepping stone for having a fulfilling experience, right? If you're fulfilled through trust, then you'll be able to share more, and be able to open up. And doing this encourages mutual sharing. And mutual sharing is very important because, you know, you're sharing all this information and you're having trust in someone and you're kind of just growing together. Right. So this is question number one. So for co-leadership, what this basically is when two leaders will kind of synergize together. They have shared roles, shared load for whatever they're doing, and basically they would apply their unique skills that they have. Maybe one's really good at speaking, one's really good at creating ideas, kind of using that together. And like I said, sharing the roles, sharing the load, and synergizing. And then the advantages of a co-leadership is that it reduces burnout. That's a big thing, especially when you have a very demanding group, clients and whatever. Uh, Reducing burnout. Maybe one person will handle issues while the other person just keeps the group going. And then you could also just interchange when maybe the person handling issues is having a difficult time. Maybe you could just switch that. That's what's really good about the co-leadership model. And then disadvantages are if, let's just say, you don't meet before your sessions. This can lead to like a lack of synchronicity. You might not be on the same page. You could also have conflicting goals, right? Maybe you're trying to achieve something, but the other person has something completely different in mind. This can be very conflicting. A fix to this would be to have open discussions. It's very simple. Just simply discuss what you're wanting to discuss and find that common ground. You know, if you both share something in common or have a similar goal, then use that. That's what you're going to do. An example of this would be, for TR, would be if, let's just say, a rec therapist and a social worker come together and they facilitate an anxiety group. The rec T would maybe be more on the side of creative arts, so creating something that the group can do, so creative arts, and that would help treat their symptoms, while the social worker maybe focuses on providing resources that can support the group members, as well as maybe leading a discussion about the activity that they did. And that's where rec T and social workers can kind of come together and both lead and both maybe provide resources and maybe just support in individual ways as well. So that's the good thing about co-leadership in that case. Hello. Yeah, so this is our case study one. So I chose Alex. In this case study, you'll see that the group process issues are group norms and group cohesion. Group norms are basically behaviors that are expected to make the group work effectively, function effectively. And then group cohesion is basically this sense of togetherness that is typically seen in initial stages of group processing. Yeah, so the first challenging behavior that is seen in this group context is the silence from Alex. Alex is very quiet in pretty much everything he does. He's minimally speaks and doesn't want to raise his hand for things and isn't really involved. So this is likely due to having some form of fear of speaking up. Um, and I kind of thought that maybe this could also be due to external problems. I know that it was mentioned that a lot of these case studies will have people that could possibly have some form of trauma or addiction or some sort of issue. So it could be something external, something that could be going on at home or at school that could be affecting this. And then the second challenging behavior is a lack of participation. So this is possibly due to like an implicit bias, or sorry, implicit norm. Basically, this kind of preconceived idea that he is pressured to do these things, that he needs to do these things, like being involved in activities. And I guess this could possibly make him very uncomfortable going into these programs and potentially scared. So, yeah, so for the next part, it's the trauma informed perspective question. And this part, I found that the safety and trustworthiness was a big part or a big aspect of this case study, looking at areas that it informs, such as physical, emotional, cultural safety as well. And basically, having the safety and trustworthiness means that the client should feel safe in the environment that they're in and that it should be a welcoming space. And what is noticed is that Alex seems to be very silent and he lacks in participation. So, what this could mean is that the space he is in is not necessarily a predictable space or accountable space. And this can kind of trigger him to be very silent and lack participation. So, a way to approach this is by simply just prioritizing and reminding everyone, whether that's the beginning and end of the sessions, that it is a safe space, that they are safe in their trust and that there's trust in their decisions. And then another trauma informed perspective is the choice, collaboration, and connections, which are basically there to empower participants and give them choice while also um, creating healthy boundaries for them. And in this case study, Alex doesn't seem to be given much choice from what I can read. This is showing that he doesn't really have much to participate in. So, for this facilitation approach, uh, the best thing to do is simply just giving him choices and creating a more sustainable environment for him to work in rather than just limiting him to only these certain things that he is supposed to do. It's got to be progression. All right, so now on to the facilitator interventions. So the first thing I came up with was just to have gentle check-ins with Alex. When we would be doing this is typically before or after, or both, after each session. This is simply just to track progress and to just kind of see what he's experiencing and dealing with, and kind of gauging on whether we need to kind of keep him at a certain point or maybe progress further. And how we'll do this is simply just pulling him aside, whether that's a private conversation, it could be even semi private, whether that's with another uh, instructor or whoever, or even a classmate. Uh, and yeah, this is basically just to keep it low social pressure, so that it's not in front of everybody. And why we're doing this is simply to build trust, right? As we talked about before, building that trustworthiness, that safety, and making sure that he is comfortable so that eventually he can move up to a full group discussion. And as well, this also helps with him practicing his communication in a safe space, right? It's not just to get information from him, it's also just to discuss about what he's dealing with and for him to kind of practice that. And then the next activity or intervention is just having the lower pressure activities. So when we'll be doing this, it's simply just kind of ongoing, obviously, every day that he's in. Um, this will be kind of a gradual shift to hopefully a larger group as his comfort grows. How we'll be doing this? Simply just pairing him up with somebody that maybe he has more trust than other people, or having him in smaller groups so it's less pressure. And also another thing is just adding some sort of other activity. So I thought of maybe like art or writing or maybe something that, like a movement activity, because it seems to be very focused on verbalizing things. So maybe moving away from that can kind of lower his anxiety, which is why we're doing it, to kind of cut that performance anxiety and to make sure that he can kind of be, not be, but feel safe, boost his safety and as well as his autonomy, and just feeling like this is something that normally is anxiety provoking, but more now is more just automatic. And this is also important just to honor his pacing, because you don't know if he's going to go fast or if he's going to go slow, but you need to respect that and make sure that he's at least building little by little. All right, so the last part here, which is facilitator self awareness. So the first internal reaction that I found was that I don't want to come off as too pushy. And an ethical way to deal with this is simply by reflecting, adding reflections into my routine, and knowing that Alex is very vulnerable and uncertain. I think it's important to just kind of be aware of my approach and to understand the times that I might be a little too aggressive when I'm trying to create change. So yeah, just kind of being aware of that it could lead to worse outcomes, and trying to kind of manage that and deal with it, and try to approach it from the right perspective. And then another internal reaction is just kind of dealing with anxiety and negative thoughts that are coming from kind of that group cohesion, uh, trying to manage that. So I thought of an ethical way is simply to maintain reflection once again, but also to ground myself in the moment. So, like I said before, with using like techniques of some sort, whether that's um, taking breaks, breathing techniques, and yeah, those would be kind of some ways to bring me back to a normal Anthony.